Well, what is going on, Notre Dame fans? It's the Notre Dame recruiting update on your Thursday morning. I'm Mike Singer, joined by my good buddy, co-host, and co-worker, of course, Kyle Kelly. Kyle, how you doing, my friend?
I'm all right, Mike. I feel like every time I hear that fight song playing when before the show starts, it always pumps me up, makes me ready to go. Feels like something good just happened. Usually, when you hear that fight song in a Notre Dame game, it means that. So, yeah, it's a good day. Ready to see some high school football tonight. Notre Dame on Saturday, and Browns play Monday night this week. So that should be pretty cool. Browns coming off a win. So yeah, things are all good and my end of the world. How about yours?
Well, the Dolphins are coming off of a win, and we play Sunday night. So that's why I'm pushing off that Goolsby show Sunday at 7
Smart
p.m.
man.
You did tweet something interesting. If I can pop it up on the screen here in just a moment, Kyle tweeting, I will reveal the remote location where I'm doing today's show. Mike doesn't even know. I thought you were in Cleveland, but now I don't know where you are.
Yeah, it looks like I'm in a jail cell right now with all these white blocks around me. The lighting's not great. Not great for a YouTube show, but we're gonna make it work. But I am currently at John Carroll University in Cleveland, Ohio, University Heights, which is where I went to undergrad. I am in our sports information department office. I worked here for 4 years. So today's a pretty cool show. I feel like this is where I really began my sports media career. And it's taking me to On3, covering Notre Dame football for Blue and Gold. And I'll be at a high school game tonight right down the road. So this was a perfect excuse to get back to campus and happy to be here. Although the lighting probably could
Nope,
be.
could be better. Could be better. But pretty cool. And that's not the school that Polian works at, right? That was your high school? Is that right?
No, Brian Polian, Notre Dame's former special teams coordinator, is the athletic director here. So I might be stopping by his office. We'll see. He's a
No
really
way.
good guy. Brian's awesome. I'm sure Notre Dame fans would, have their opinions about special teams play, but he's a great guy. He's great for the university here, and yeah, I'll be excited to meet him in person for the first time. I got to know him just a little bit in the past, but
Huh.
yes, sir, Brian Polian, and if you know anything else about John Carroll, just do a Google search and put John Carroll NFL, and you'll
Yeah.
find out all about the alumni. So.
All right. YouTube chat's already popping off. Tuberton had a question about 2025 quarterback recruiting. We'll address that shortly. High school rules for multiple transfers in a season. Can Deuce Knight even play again? So Deuce, the thing is, it's different states. So different states have different rules for high school football. So it depends on whatever Mississippi does. If he can join mid-season, then which I'm sure he can. So I would assume that Deuce will be able to play this season. Like we are in the trust tree. If you ever had a beef with a recruit, I don't think so, but probably, but I don't. There's nothing that comes to mind. Lotus says, "Hey Mike, I've been listening all week. Well, thank you. No one is talking about Audric Estime leading the NCAA in rushing yards and yards per carry. Now, the rushing yards thing should be. I mean, he's played for the most part and one more game than everyone else has. But the yards per carry thing, yeah, that's pretty awesome. When you bust an 80-yard touchdown run, that definitely helps. But yeah, Audric Estime has been a beast this season, and yeah, although he's played in one more extra game, still the yards per carry thing, that is pretty awesome. So getting into today's show, the lead is my prediction, and it's something we talked about in our show last night with Tim Hyde. But we'll talk a little bit. Tim kind of broke down what if Notre Dame gets Bear, like how good of a quarterback he is. But we can kind of talk about the nuts and bolts of the recruiting angle of this. Was it Monday night? I logged a prediction for Notre Dame to land Bear Bachmeier, number 111 overall player, number 9 quarterback per the 2025 On3 industry ranking. He visits this weekend, and of course, Notre Dame is also in pursuit of Deuce Knight, number 39 overall player, number 3 quarterback per that same metric. So, Kyle, I had told you earlier that day, Monday, that I was thinking about doing this prediction for Bachmeier, and your reaction was something like, "Oh boy." I don't remember exactly what you said, but it was something like that. So, what were your thoughts on this? This kind of whole debacle, or not debacle? It's definitely not a debacle. Well, I hope it's not a debacle, but this whole situation. Kyle, did Kyle freeze? Kyle needs to get on board with Kyle needs to hit up Brian Polian and see if Brian can help out with this with the Wi-Fi situation. So there goes Kyle Kelly. So we will I'm sure Kyle will join us back shortly, but in the meantime, I will get to is he doing the fake freeze joke? That's kind of what it looked like for a second. I was like, man, Kyle's got a very stoic face, but yeah. Okay, before we get to the super chat, I just want to mention, please do hit the thumbs up on this video if you're watching live with us. If you're watching back, Kyle just texted me working a fixed connection now. I see Kyle trying to rejoin. So yeah, but folks, please do hit the thumbs up on the video. Subscribe to our channel for more content. Kyle's back. What is your opinion on the veer and shoot offense? Should we adopt it? Colorado and Tennessee have been able to take brand new players and get immediate success. Veer and shoot? Veer as in, like, the triple option? Like, that veer? Like, that I ran in high school? Veer and shoot offense? Is that what they call it?
I don't know a ton about the beer and shoot. There
The
was
veer
another
and shoot.
offense. There was another offense I knew. It was something called something in shoot offense, and I knew a little bit about that. But gonna be honest, don't know a ton about veer and shoot offenses.
Yeah, I am Googling this, and this scene veer and shoot. This is not a phrase that I have heard. So, yeah, Andrew, wrong super chat for not the show for this. This is our recruiting show. So, not you want to ask on Sunday or Wednesday, come back with it. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, don't know.
I think it's what Art Briles ran at Baylor, if I'm not mistaken. There's some RPO sprinkled in there. But
Everyone does
yeah,
the RPO now. I mean, not the right show. When you tell me veer, I'm thinking, the dive and the oh my gosh, just give me flashbacks to 2009 when we ran this crap in high school. So yeah, but appreciate the super chat. Just not the right show. Ask Goolsby or Tim. So, anyways, yeah, kind of threw me off, Andrew. But anyways, getting back to Bear Bachmeier. Sorry, podcast audience. This is really great radio here. So, Kyle, before I don't know what the last thing you heard me say was, but just thoughts on my prediction for Bear Bachmeier, because when I told you that Monday morning I was thinking about doing that for the evening, you were kind of like surprised or like, oh boy, here we go. What thoughts on this whole situation?
I think the first word that came to mind when I learned of your intentions to make the Bear Bachmeier prediction was bold, especially since he has never visited campus before. Obviously, if there's one thing we've learned covering Notre Dame football recruiting, you have more experience than me, but I've been doing this for, I don't know, about 18 months now or so, and certainly followed Notre Dame growing up, is that sometimes all it takes is one visit for a recruit to get to campus to fall in love with Notre Dame. And just from the sounds of it, sounds like Bear Bachmeier's already fallen in love with Notre Dame based off his communication with the staff and what he's learned about Notre Dame growing up and his family's respect to the university. I think his grandpa was a fan growing up, or his grandpa's a big Notre Dame fan, so that's part of it. So yeah, I thought when you told me that you were going to make that prediction, I wasn't caught off guard, but I was like, wow, this is a bold one by Mike. But it kind of makes sense when you start to add everything up. This is a 2 quarterback race in the 2025 class between Bear Bachmeier and Deuce Knight. Deuce was last on campus in late July, and there was some talk about him maybe getting up for the Ohio State Notre Dame game, but I don't think those plans are going to happen. And if I'm not mistaken, Notre Dame's pretty much just put the ball in Deuce's court and said, "Hey, it's your position if you want it, but Notre Dame's not going to hold out, and because they got a secondary option in Bear Bachmeier, who's, I mean, hardly a secondary option. I mean, he's a primary option for a lot of other schools and a super talented recruit. And I think that, knowing what we know about him going into his visit, wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if he just fell in love and shut down his recruitment.
Yeah, I mean, Notre Dame offered obviously Knight in March, and they offered Bachmeier a few months later. But otherwise, yeah, there's no secondary option here. This is very much a we love you guys. Like if Notre Dame didn't see Bachmeier as the same caliber, this feed is like glitching. If they didn't see him in the same caliber as Deuce Knight, they would not be taking him. So yeah, this is they definitely love this kid for sure. So even can I call him a priority target per Kyle Kelly's dictionary? May I?
So the way I look at it is Deuce Knight is a priority target, but
Oh,
Bear
jeez.
Bachmeier definitely is a target. Antoine Hill, Offery, Bryce
No,
Underwood, target.
no.
So
So you're not calling Bear Bachmeier a priority target?
target, man. Who's the
Oh my
priority
gosh.
here?
What are you talking about? How is he not a
Who
priority target?
who would Notre Dame take if it came down to it between
So
Deuce
you can
Knight and
only have
Bear
one priority
Bachmeier?
target per position?
Pretty much. I mean, well, obviously, like for different positions,
They're about to
you're
take
gonna
his
get that
commitment if he wants to commit. How is that not a priority?
because there's another quarterback that they would accept a commitment from first if he wanted in. So that's the way I look at it.
No,
I think
but they would
priority
accept
is.
Bear if he wants him before Deuce. So it doesn't make any sense.
I don't think you can have two priority targets though for one position.
Absolutely, you can.
I don't think so. Not in my mind. I think that priority is one guy. If you're making someone a priority, that's one person. Deuce Knight has long been the priority in this class. Notre Dame has shown that since they offered him in March, since they got him up to campus. Now, Bear Bachmeier, like you mentioned, you said is not a secondary plan, but I think he is like the secondary guy in this class because Deuce Knight basically has dibs. He's got the first crack at the commitment.
He did. He did.
Still does. What if Deuce Knight wanted to commit today?
What if Bear Bachmeier wanted to commit today?
They take him first come first serve. But
Exactly. So I think they're on. It's the same. I really think if Notre Dame did
let's
not
hear
feel,
from the YouTube people. Make me
yeah,
look
because you're
stupid or
reading the
make me look
chat and you see
smart.
one guy say I agree with Kyle. So you wanna lean, guys. There is no main target. They're literally it's they're on the same playing field. There's no one guy or the other. Like
If they're on the same playing field, why did Bear Bachmeier not get an offer on Pot of Gold Day?
I don't know. I don't
Exactly.
know. Evaluated him more in the
Exactly.
spring. They didn't know as much about him. That is such a slippery slope, though, because that's just not really how football recruiting works. Like some guys bust onto the scene much earlier than other guys do. It's just, it's not. You guys can say whatever you want, but I am telling you that you're wrong. So, but we can move along. We can move along. You kind of got me heated, but
Dude, I'm telling. I mean, let's be honest. I walk a fine line with my vocabulary covering recruiting with my offerees and prospects and like targets. Like, for example, in my head, like Armando Blount from Miami Central, I think, or he's from Miami. He's a 5-star plus defensive lineman. He's an absolute stud. And I talked to him over the summer. I heard that, he said he's been in communication with Notre Dame. He had interest in Notre Dame to some extent. So in my mind, I classified him as a target. I think that's a guy Notre Dame would absolutely have accepted a commitment from. But He cut Notre Dame out of his top 5 earlier this week, so now in my mind he's an offeree. He's no longer
But
a target.
with all due respect, this is just stuff you're making up, right? This whole your classification, you just kind of make this up as you go in terms of what you get from the kid. But like if you were to ask these things to Notre Dame, they might have very differing opinions. So Jay Carr says,
Well, yeah, I
why
mean,
does Deuce have the ball in his court if he isn't the priority? Because Deuce has been to campus twice. He can commit. Bear could, but he's never been to campus. He's not going to commit before visiting. He's not going to do that as the quarterback. Priority's one guy. Oh my gosh,
what
you could
about
have more
hey,
than one priority. You
what
prioritized Deuce Knight over Jackson Arnold last year, and that screwed Notre Dame. Notre Dame screwed up last year when it did that. It could have had Jackson Arnold, a 5-star quarterback, and it didn't because it just went on Deuce Knight. So this year, they're saying we are not doing just one guy. We are doing 2 because they screwed up. I don't know why that's so hard for you guys to understand.
prioritize?
Why
The
would you
definition.
prioritize 2 guys? Because you did one guy
Determine.
last year and you screwed up.
Here's the
Notre
definition of
Dame, we talked about this
prioritize.
last night's show. Notre Dame was about to take a UCLA baseball commitment for their quarterback last year in the 2023 class. With an offer, his only football offer was from New Mexico State. That's how bad it was until Kenny Minchie called and said, "Hey, I want in." They got lucky.
Well,
They
here's the
got
thing, Mike. You
lucky.
also said quarterback commitments don't necessarily happen until they come to campus. If I'm not mistaken, we had a pretty good idea that Kenny Minchie basically was in the class before he officially visited on November 19th. That's why he
But then
backed
he
off his
did.
Pitt religion.
But
Well,
then
he
he did
visited
visit.
campus. Yeah.
Yeah, but then he did
I thought
visit.
you said, quarterbacks don't commit until they get to campus, but I mean, I think the intention of Kenny Minchie's official visit was for him to commit to Notre Dame. Like that was in the plan. That was part of the
Right.
plan. That's the reason why he did it. Like he went there and
If all
like
went
there was
well.
there were things that happened behind the scenes that like Notre Dame had planned out because like he was basically committing on that visit. Like I don't think Notre Dame was bringing him to campus unless they knew he was going to be a part of the class.
If it all went well. I mean, he could have gone there and hated it. But he
Yeah, I
was the
guess.
only guy at that point. That was it. They also had all of their eggs in that basket because they had royally pretty much screwed up the 2023 class at the quarterback spot. They really did. Guys, I'm telling you, you can tell you whatever you want, but you
I'm
can
going to die on
say
this hill.
there is primary and secondary. There is, but I am just telling you, at this quarterback position, they would not, just hear me, people. If they thought that there's Deuce and then there's Bear, right? They would not take Bear. But they view them here. Okay? That's just it. That's just it. I feel like you guys are just trying to gaslight me now in the YouTube comments with this. Like, I don't understand how you guys don't see this, but we're going to move along. Tuberton says, here's a scenario for you. Bear commits. Deuce says, F that noise. I want to prove I'm better than him. So he tells the Irish he wants to commit as well. Does Notre Dame take both? If that scenario happens, Marcus Freeman needs to look up to the heavens, thank the Lord, and see if pigs are flying and see if hell's frozen over. That's probably not going to happen. But does Notre Dame take both?
Hey, this is a really good point about Tuberton because from Tuberton, in my mind, I had always thought, what if Bear's in the class and Deuce realizes that Notre Dame's a place for him? What happens? And in my gut feeling is Notre Dame would go with Deuce because he's a priority guy. I would just say this. So I will have to see how Notre Dame treats Bear when he's on campus. but when Deuce visited during spring practice, there was a member of the Notre Dame coaching staff going around to everybody in the vicinity, letting them know that Deuce Knight was on campus, and he made a very, very big deal of that. That right there, just seeing the way Notre Dame treated him, in my mind, absolute priority. If I'm seeing the same thing from Deuce, if I'm seeing the same treatment with Bear this weekend, then in my mind that's maybe Notre Dame's priorities would have shifted, but I still think, just final point, that prioritize the definitions, determine the order for dealing with a series of items or tasks according to their relative importance. I think Deuce Knight was a priority. I think he still is. I'll end there.
I've never seen Mike this flustered. You can have two priorities. I prioritize Taco Bell and Buc-ee's. They're my two favorite places in the world. I prioritize them both. It's just...
We can go on this. We got to move on. We can beat ourselves to death over this.
We would like to welcome Prize Picks to the show. You know what? Biggs is telling me to chill. I'm going to tell Biggs to chill and give him a 5-minute ban. You know what? I am flustered, Biggs. Don't tell me to chill. Okay. All right. We're going to move along. This is how Prize Picks works, folks. You pick 2 to 6 players a week. And if they will go more or less than their Prize Picks projection, you can win 25 times your money on any entry. But it gets even better because all first-time users that deposit and use promo code BGI will receive 100% instant deposit match up to 100%. So if you deposit $100, Prize Picks will give you $100. If you deposit 50, they'll give you 50. So just download the app, go to prizepicks.com, use the promo code BGI. Many sports here, NFL, college football, they have something new called NFL sprints, where let's say for Patrick Mahomes, for example, 1,175.5 passing yards, will he go more or less than that number from weeks 2 through 5? So, MLB, NFL, obviously soccer, MLB, Counter-Strike Go, WNBA tennis. You got video games, racing, all sorts of stuff, folks. And when you use that promo code BGI, you'll get 100% instant deposit match up to $100. So I've been really enjoying the Prize Picks here lately. My current open entry, tell me what you think. This is for tonight's game. Jalen Hurts less than 45.5 yards in tonight's game against the Vikings, and Kirk Cousins to throw for more than 1.5 touchdowns. Thoughts, Kyle?
My gut tells me. So this is what I think. I would disagree with both those picks, but also when I do my Prize Picks, they don't hit. So
Me neither.
In that sense, well, I do agree with those. The only thing I'm worried about, I don't know how much Philadelphia is going to want to run Jalen Hurts early on in the season. I think it also kind of comes up to like how much he's going to scramble and that sort of thing. And then you also have to take into account like if the Vikings get a sack that adds negative rush yards.
I don't think that does in NFL. I don't think that's only college, I think.
I think it does because I've lost some picks that way. So look it up. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah,
it wouldn't be the first time, but Kirk Cousins, that's tough too because the Eagles' defense is pretty good. But anyway, what I was going to say about Jalen Hurts, I don't think that Vikings front seven is anything to write home about. So maybe see him going more than 45.5. Kirk Cousins, they got the best wide receiver in the league, a generational pass catcher. So could easily get more than 1.5 touchdowns, especially with Justin Jefferson catching passes.
Google search says no, but I'm not sure on Prize Picks specifically on the sack yard. I'm pretty sure it doesn't. But Hertz had gone less than 45.5 in games recently. And I did, was it Goff for more than 1.5 touchdowns against
I told
KC?
you I didn't like that.
I did Josh Allen more than 1.5 against the Jets. One of these has got to hit. So I've been having a lot of fun with it. Some of my past entries here. I even did a baseball one. Some guy tweeted out a baseball one. It didn't quite work out. This one I got a refund for folks watching on YouTube. I did a Monday Night Football one.
Good on Prize Picks for giving their customers their money's back. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
so I did less than no, it was over or excuse me, more than 3.5 rushing yards for Aaron Rodgers, and that did not that did not happen because he got hurt. But I've had some fun. I had a really good one. I want to show real quick so we can scroll past the losses here. More than 71.5 receiving yards for Jalen Waddle hit. Shout out to former Notre Dame safety Loie Gilman. It was more
How
than
about
4.5
that?
tackles. And I was like, for how much Notre Dame's going to throw, or excuse me, the Dolphins are going to throw the ball, Loie Gilman's got a lot more than 4.5 tackles. And then Jerome Baker had more than 6. So it was a $20 entry, hit 3 out of 3. So paid 60. So we'd love to see that. So Mike is not
Oh
these
man.
entries are not. So, but moving along in the show, so that's Prize Picks. Please do check them out. If you are interested in that, use that promo code BGI and they'll match whatever you deposit up to $100. Kyle has froze. I think he was stretching. Oh, you froze when you were doing the stretch there, and it just kind of looked like you were celebrating. So Notre Dame has a home game this weekend, Central Michigan, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time kickoff. This is the Peacock game, folks. So if you're watching or listening and you don't have Peacock, if you try to watch the Notre Dame game Saturday and you go to NBC, it won't be there. It's only on Peacock. We had someone on our message board ask, like, "Oh, I don't get Peacock on my TV." Said something like that. How do I watch the game online? I'm just thinking to myself, it's still Peacock. The answer to watch this game legally is Peacock. So that's 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And there will be some prospects on campus, Kyle, and I'll run through them real quick. Troll Sniper says he has Fubo. I don't know if you get Peacock through Fubo, but you have to figure that out. But yeah, Peacock's like $5 a month. So you can just do it, and $5 to watch a Notre Dame game, I think, is worth it. But
Also, a good excuse to go to the game. Use
good
that Game
excuse to
Time
go to the game.
ticketing app. Get some cheap
GameTime.co.
tickets. Yeah,
There you go.
I mean, I don't hate it. That's what my best friend's a diehard Notre Dame fan. I was like, if you're just gonna spend the money for Peacock, why don't you just go to the game? Like, you try to go to like 1 or 2 Notre Dame games a year anyway. Just go to Game Time, get your tips. It's not that
There you
hard.
go. So in terms of visitors for Notre Dame this weekend, got several listed. I'll just kind of rattle them off and we can get Kyle's thoughts on this. But we have Cam Williams, of course, which this will be visits number
Can I guess? 15?
14, which is insane.
Wait a
14
second.
times. Are we missing one?
I thought we were, but looks like he's all updated.
Yeah. So 14 times for Cam Williams. You've got to be seeing him this fall, right?
I'm thinking about seeing him before the Ohio State game. The only thing I'm concerned about, it doesn't look like the opponent they're playing is all that great. So I'm trying to find a good opponent for Cam to play, but like, I don't know. The guy's a superstar, so I feel like no matter what game I go to, he's going to dominate. So I'm
Yeah.
just itching to get out there.
Yeah. Yeah. So Cam Williams, and this is expected. So, we'll see if all these guys show up. They're definitely in the past, even this season's Notre Dame has had, or just one home game, Tennessee State, but some guys were expected to visit. They don't make it in. So this is as of Thursday morning who were expecting to visit campus. You got Cam Williams, Notre Dame elite receiver commit, someone I think should end up a 5-star. Carson Hobbs from Cincinnati, Archbishop Moeller, a former South Carolina commit. Notre Dame flipped him. away from the Gamecocks last November. He's expected to be on campus, and he has visited campus a handful of times as well. This will be number 8. Aeneas Williams, another guy. I mean, he's from a little bit farther out in Hannibal, Missouri.
That's not an easy drive.
It's
I've made
not.
that drive, and yeah, I mean, kudos to Aeneas for getting up to campus as much as he does. It's awesome. It's awesome to
11.
see.
This will be visit number 11. So Aeneas Williams, kind of one of these guys in the class that just not get talked about enough. Like, he's a big time player for the Fighting Irish, and has absolutely been dominant at the high school level. Not playing great competition, but really has been an impressive player for years at his high school. Styles Prescott, we're expecting to be on campus. The 4-star offensive lineman from Indianapolis area, picked Notre Dame over. Had some big time offers. Bama, Michigan, Wisconsin, Tennessee,
Colorado.
yeah,
He
Colorado's now a big time school.
Colorado was a contender for him.
So yeah, nice get for the Irish. Over the summer, landing Styles Prescott. Another guy I'm guessing you're seeing?
Yeah, I'm going to see him later on in the season. I was kind of debating between seeing Styles or Cam next week, so we'll see. I'm really excited to see Cam though. Like I stopped by Styles school last spring. I feel like with offensive linemen, you can kind of go anytime, and
Right.
I really want to see Cam against some great competition.
Yeah.
Well, as good as competition he's going to get on his schedule. So we'll see.
Logan Thomas, formerly at Katy, Texas, Payette High School, and now at St. Edward in Lakewood, Ohio. Kyle got to see him in August. He'll be back. Long, lanky, Viper type defensive end. So Logan Thomas will be there. We're also expecting Tay Johnson, who's playing quarterback now, just to get the football in his hands. A tremendous athlete. Stock up, in my opinion, for what I expect from his ranking, but we will see. So we're expecting 6 Notre Dame commitments: Cam Williams, Carson Hobbs, Aeneas Williams, Styles Prescott, Logan Thomas, and Tay Johnson. Excuse me, make that 7. Tabron Benny Powell, 6'1", 185 pounds, committed to the Fighting Irish over the summer. Listed as an athlete, expected to play safety for the Fighting Irish. And in terms of whether you want to call them prospects, targets, priority targets, whatever, we obviously defer to Kyle Kelly and the gospel that he preaches on his designations for these players. There's a handful of guys, and I will cover them at Blue and Gold in an article today, a visitor preview article. But in terms of just the other names to know, for now, again, we'll have the full names to know in an article, blueandgold.com, for just the sake of this video. Bear Bachmeier, who we talked about in depth earlier, visiting Notre Dame, pretty big visit. So he plays tonight for Marietta Valley, and then he'll get on a plane Friday. And I'm guessing we'll stay through Sunday before he heads back to Southern California. So huge visit here. The biggest question here is the obvious one. Is he ready to pull the trigger and commit? If he is, I think he'll be on Notre Dame's commit list pretty soon, obviously. If not, then it'll be really interesting to see where 2025 quarterback recruiting goes. Because me thinks that, like, Gino Guidugli and that Notre Dame coaching staff thinks that Bachmeier, there's a decent chance that he commits. So if he comes and he doesn't, then does Notre Dame think, does he just not want to come here? Like, I think that might be what goes through their mind, because if their mindset is he's coming here to commit and then he doesn't, then what? So that'll be interesting. Would they just continue the Bachmeier Knight thing? Who will be first? Or do they go after other guys? I don't know. So it will be interesting to keep an eye on Bear Bachmeier. And then one guy we saw at Irish Invasion, Corey Amachari from Lansing, Michigan. More of a MAC prospect right now. Oh, he's got an offer from Arizona State. Excuse me. But he was a really, really good looking class of 2026 running back. I thought looked outstanding at Irish Invasion. So he'll be visiting from what we understand this weekend. Kyle, any thoughts on the visitors for this weekend?
Yeah, it's always interesting to look at these lists like 6 months down the road because there's always guys where we don't think are going to be a big deal or, we kind of gloss over. But then a couple months down the road, then you realize that he's got a Notre Dame offer or he's on other Power 5 schools' radars. So, like, it's always really, I like kind of looking back at the visitors list from last year and like looking at guys. Like one guy just that comes to the top of my mind was Mark Zachary, who visited for the Clemson game. He only had two Power 5 offers when he visited Notre Dame. Granted, he was a sophomore, but that he absolutely blew up this spring. Notre Dame, Ohio State, Georgia, other schools involved, and now he's the number one cornerback prospect in the Midwest. So there's always those guys that come to campus that maybe like us, like recruiting guys, at least like me, the guy that doesn't really get a whole lot of time to watch film and just kind of relies on the rankings and the offer sheets to kind of form my opinion for the most part. It's always interesting to see like how the coaching staff is looking at certain guys and how they're going to develop into potential offerees down the road.
Yeah. So that's Notre Dame's, at least a handful of the names visiting Notre Dame this weekend. Really, it's Bear Bachmeier weekend. That's pretty much what it is. And then look, Notre Dame, could they have had a bigger recruiting weekend for Central Michigan? Sure, but they're going to tell their bigger targets to come for Ohio State. And you got to understand, it's easier for out-of-state guys to visit for the Ohio State game because it's a 7:30 kick. If you're traveling across the country or if you plan a Friday night and you're in Florida or something, it's difficult to then get to South Bend for a 2:30 p.m. Eastern time kickoff. Like I know Justin Thurman did it this past weekend, but that's just not normal. Or excuse me, the Tennessee State game. It was also a 3:30 kick, so that helps. But yeah, it's just not an easy thing to do. So you get the night game. Obviously, it's a huge environment with Ohio State coming in. Just hope there's not much red in the stands. That's the hope. Quick comment. You guys are talking about Gerby Lambert in the chat. Tuberton says Lambert's already committed, and that's a silent. Let me push back on this, okay? Going back to Deuce Knight, Dante Moore last year. You guys told me 4 months that Dante Moore was a silent commitment to Notre Dame. There's nothing to worry about. What happened? So I don't care if he's a silent commitment or not. Because even when you have a public commitment, sometimes that's not where the paper is written on because guys how much guys decommit. So if you want me to just take, he's a silent commitment, let's just say he is. Okay, that means nothing. Silent commitments mean pretty much nothing. You think Notre Dame's just sitting there being like, we don't care if he publicly commits because he's a silent commit. Come on. So, come on. You in agreement, Kyle? Any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, silent commitments don't really mean much. Like I think Ohio State got burned on a couple of those this summer. Like I think coming out of one of Ohio State's visits, like KJ Bolden, I think the Buckeyes felt like they were out in front. Like I believe he had been mainly told the staff like, hey, like, you guys are it. Well, KJ Bolden ended up at Florida State and he's gonna be visiting Auburn and Georgia this fall. So like, yeah, silent commitments really don't hold a ton of weight anymore. I mean, I feel like with Notre Dame kids, like for the most part, some of these kids are pretty true to their word, but still, it's like unless there's like a public announcement, it's tough to like really consider those guys in the class.
So there's two different aspects of this discussion. There's the silent commitment. Like if I commit to Notre Dame, let's use Justin Thurman for example. He visits for the Grill and Chill. I think that was like the 27th, right? He committed to them, right? He said, hey, I'm coming here. He had not announced it, but he had a plan to announce it. I think it was August 1st or August 2nd, right? There's a huge difference between telling Notre Dame you're coming and then locking in your date to announce versus hey guys, like I'm committing here. Whoa, well, when are you going to announce? I don't know.
How How about
6 months now, like, yeah.
How about Paul Menke? Remember when he visited? Like there was a lot of optimism that he more or less told the staff he was in, and that Notre Dame was a school for him. I don't really know if we ever got clarification if he was
That changed by
100%.
the end of the day.
Yeah. So these things are so fluid.
Yeah. So there you go. So I did not want to log that prediction until got some of these things. Yeah, need to simmer a little bit. But let's hear from our sponsors over at, of course, the Rogue Shop. It is the husband and wife outfit. Mr. Rogue and his wife Shar are craft cannabis farmers who specialize in small batch sustainable plant medicine, a true holistic type of small business. They farm and grow everything themselves and do everything by hand. The website to visit is rogueshop.com. That's ROGU shop.com. They sell everything from CBD, THC, edibles, tinctures, smokables, bath salts, pain creams, topicals, vapes, candles, soaps, and more. Check out rogueshop.com if you have issues sleeping, chronic pain, and or have anxiety, stress issues. You can use the promo code blue and gold to get 10% off your order. That's blue and gold, one word, to get 10% off your order. If you have any questions, you can hop on a live chat with the owners of the store. So check them out if you're interested in that, and use that promo code blue and gold for 10% off your order. Silent Commit. This is from BVG Should Be Coach. Silent commit is like dating a chick, saying you're exclusive but not meeting her friend's family or being posted anywhere on socials. There you go. All right, so Kyle, let's talk about hitting the road. So last week I was going to see Deuce Knight, then he transferred high schools, and then didn't think Caleb Beasley. Like, I don't think Notre Dame's going to get Caleb Beasley, so did not make the trip for that. I'll just leave it at that. So I ended up just staying home. And the biggest part of that, honestly, was Notre Dame had a 12 p.m. game, and I did not want to be out on the road and getting back at like 2 in the morning before a 12 p.m. kick, and I still had work to do that morning. So that
Hey,
was
take it from me.
and I was, yeah, right.
You
And
made
I was
that
going to
choice.
see Josh Petty, but then that didn't work out with the athletic director there. I'll leave it at that. So I just stayed home. But you hit the road and saw three. I don't know what to call them. I'll let you defer to their designation. But you saw three targets for Notre Dame. One being Gavin Nix. And I will load up their film here that you took. So why don't you tell us about seeing Gavin Nix, 2025 linebacker from IMG Academy in Bradenton, Florida.
Yeah, so Gavin Nix here, he wears number 6, so you'll be able to see him pop off the screen because that's exactly what he did on Friday night against Indianapolis. Ben Davis and Notre Dame targets, cornerback target, Mark Zachary. And I know we kind of had like a friendly wager on this game. You said that Ben Davis would lose by like at least 24 points, and I thought Ben Davis would play him tough, and they did. I mean, I forget the final score. I think it was like 34-14. So I just covered our little spread. And I'm be honest, like Ben Davis was in this game. It came down to like a handful of plays, big plays that Ben Davis just surrendered, and IMG capitalized. But Gavin Nix, really impressive player. If you don't know anything about IMG Academy, I wrote one of my stories. They're synonymous with Football Factory. Like they have 5 stars and 4 stars littered on both sides of the balls. And it almost seemed like Gavin Nix was like the best guy on that defense. I don't think like the Ben Davis quarterback tested IMG's secondary a whole lot, but Nix was excellent on Friday night. He can move from sideline to sideline. He's a hard hitter. He's excellent tackler. That's a guy that's lurking in the backfield. Not a surprise that Alabama and all these SEC schools and Notre Dame, Michigan, like your premier Power 5 schools have got involved. I know On3 doesn't really have him considered like a top 300 prospect yet, but I see this guy being one that climbs high in the rankings and is obviously high on Notre Dame's board.
And where does what did he kind of say about Notre Dame when you talked to him?
Yeah, so I was actually really surprised because, like, just doing my research about him, he's from Orlando, and that's he transferred to IMG, which is in Bradenton. I think Bradenton's Tampa area, if I'm not
Yeah, a
mistaken.
little bit south, but yeah.
So yeah, I mean, he is given a lot of attention to the Florida schools. He's visited Florida, I think, 7 times, Miami 4 times, Florida State 4 times. He kind of mentioned that, like, yeah, it's easier to get to those schools, obviously. And he said getting up to Notre Dame in April, which is when he picked up his offer, just really surprised him. He kind of fell in love with the campus. He loves the coaching staff. Academics and education are really important to him. So, like, right away, Mike, as you know, like when you start hearing those things, alarm bells start to go off in your head. Like, yeah, this kid is actually really giving Notre Dame a close look. And he also said that, like, he doesn't really have any game day visits on the docket this fall because he's so focused on his junior season. But he did say, like, bye weeks are the best time since IMG plays the national schedule, and IMG has bye week for that Notre Dame versus Ohio State game. At least they currently do, and he's considering making it back up to campus for that game. So we see Gavin Nix in South Bend on September 23rd. That'd be a really good sign for Notre Dame on where they're progressing with this recruitment. And I'll kind of summarize it this way. I put on the loose emoji message board when I posted the story. I posted a story and I said Jalen Sneed, Jaden Osbury, Kingston Villanueva, and Gavin Nix. And kind of what I was alluding to is all guys that maybe from the outside looking in, like Notre Dame, people really didn't think that Notre Dame stood a chance for. Notre Dame more or less pulled off the upsets in each one of those recruitments. And I think that Gavin Nix could continue this theme in the 25 class.
Another big time linebacker, Nathaniel Owusu Boateng. That last name of Owusu sounds
Mhm.
familiar, Kyle.
Yeah, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah's brother. Um, they share the same dad, different mothers. Owusu Boateng transferred from DeMatha down to IMG this fall. Really interesting recruitment because he keeps his cards pretty close to the vest. It was hard to get a read on how much he's actually considering Notre Dame. Nathaniel Owusu Boateng, number 11 here on the highlights. I was more impressed with Gavin Nix. I'm not surprised. I'm surprised that Nathaniel has such a higher ranking compared to Nix, like the gap between the two, but I'm not surprised that Nathaniel's a little bit higher rated right now just because I think there's a little bit more upside once he gets to the collegiate level. But the Florida is another school that's really involved here. I think Ohio State, he was up to campus. South Carolina is an intriguing school that's done really well with the DMV area prospects. So I think those are some of the schools to know right now. It's just a really interesting recruitment because when his brother went to Notre Dame, he had never been to South Bend ever to watch any of his games or anything. So he is still yet to get to Notre Dame for any circumstance. Until that happens, I'm kind of skeptical on how serious he'll be considering the Irish. But from all accounts, his brother's courting him to Notre Dame. They're on his radar at least. It's just like it's tough to really kind of verify how strongly he's thinking about Notre Dame until he makes it to campus.
So Nathaniel Owusu Boateng, number 27 overall player, number 3 linebacker per the 2025 on 3 industry ranking. So yeah, Nix and Owusu Boateng probably more of long shots. I think would be safe to assume at this point. But Mark Zachary, someone I've actually predicted to end up at Notre Dame, visiting for the Ohio State game. Yes, he is. Number 1 player in the Hoosier State for the 2025 class across the board. Ohio State, Notre Dame, it kind of looks like the big battle here for him. Wouldn't discount Georgia and some other schools, but it does look like Notre Dame and Ohio State are his 2 favorites at this point. And yeah, Kyle, you got to see him. What do you think?
Yeah, so I talked to Mark. Well, I visited him at his school beforehand. I spent like a half hour with him, just really getting to know him and learn about him and his recruitment and kind of what's important to him. And then I talked to him afterward about the game, and one thing I kind of observed is IMG Academy, they didn't really target him all night. I think there's only maybe two passes that I really noticed that went his direction. Uh, so I asked him about that. He's like, "Yeah, that just shows the respect factor that they had for me," and I kind of agreed. Like, he played super well. You know, he didn't let a lot of guys get by him. You know, IMG didn't really ever look toward his side of the field. Um, you know, I think on that play there, he's kind of in the area, but you know, Mark Zachary also had a fumble recovery, but like when IMG Academy comes to town, like that's, as we know, just littered with top Power Five recruits from top to bottom on the roster. And Mark Zachary 100% looks like a guy that belongs in the same category with them. He's 6 foot. We have him at 155 pounds. I think he's a little bit closer to 165 pounds right now. Obviously, it's tough to keep that weight on during the season, but a super fast guy. And I talked to his coach for a long time before the game, and he had brought up two names from the Indianapolis area: David Bell, wide receiver that played for Warren Central, and then cornerback that played for Warren Central as well. His name escapes me. I wrote about him a ton yesterday. It's like Juju Brents or something. I forget. He was drafted in the second round by the Colts. He went on to play for Iowa and then Kansas State. He's like a just has a lot of potential in the NFL and incredible athlete. And uh, Zachary's coach Bell and Juju at Warren Central, and he drew comparisons from Zachary to those guys. He even used the phrase that Zachary is one of those guys that he doesn't jump off the ground; he jumps off the earth. And he said the reason he says earth was because Mark Zachary is like one of those guys, one of those athletes that like he stays off the earth once he gets up the off the ground. And I think just looking at his athleticism on Friday night, it was definitely evident. Just a little bit more background on his recruitment. I mean, he's going to make a big swing of Midwestern visits this fall. He'll be at Cincinnati. He's going to Ohio State. He'll also be at Michigan, Notre Dame. But like you kind of mentioned, I think this is really a Notre Dame Ohio State battle and will be to the end. I think Georgia can make things interesting. Cincinnati is a nearby school. Michigan is obviously a player being in the Midwest, but just talking to Mark, kind of the feel I had on his recruitment was that no other school right now is recruiting him harder than Notre Dame. But with that being said, he was wearing Ohio State gloves and Ohio State cleats. So he was an Ohio State fan growing up. I think when it comes time to make his college commitment, it could ultimately come down to like his heart versus mine. I think his heart was, you know, with Ohio State growing up, but I think a lot of things in his head are telling him that Notre Dame could be the right destination for him. So this is going to be a recruitment that's going to be a fun one to follow because it's going to be a battle to the end.
And that's Mark Zachary, Indianapolis, Ben Davis, number 172 overall player per the 2025 on 3 industry ranking, number 19 quarterback in the land. Wrapping up, Kyle, looking at where we are traveling this week, I will be sometime early this afternoon, sometime in the next hour. I will be driving out to Charlotte to watch Charlotte Catholic tight end Jack Larson, Notre Dame commit for 15 months or so now. Committed to the Irish over Clemson. What he had, Bama, Michigan. This is like we talk about puzzling rankings, and Larson's one of the ones for me that I will it just scratches my head. I'm like, I don't understand like how this kid is ranked so low. Like I think ESPN had him rated like the number 1 tight end for a while there, something like that. And the highest ranking 17 positionally, and then on 3 down to 42. I just don't understand. And he's not 6'6", 225 pounds. I get it. But like Jack Larson is a really, really good football player. He's like more like 6'6" or like 6'3", 220. But like the H-back move tight end, put him in the slot, is still an important role. and Larson's he can separate against linebackers. He's excellent in this seam. Just a really good route runner. He's a really good athlete. So I'm looking forward to seeing Larson. This will be my fourth time seeing him. I was at his commitment last year, his commitment ceremony, and he also did like a little little workout that I got to see earlier that day. And I saw him at Irish Invasion last year, which he absolutely dominated at, and I saw him actually in this same game last year against Providence. Um, so I'll be seeing him Thursday night, and it would have been perfect if the Charlotte Christian team that
Oh
has
yeah.
Micah Gilbert and Bryce Young committed, but they have a bye week, of course. So I'm gonna go out there. I'm
That's
gonna
how it
return to
goes.
Charlotte. What's that?
That's how it goes.
I
Never
know,
lines up
right?
for us recruiting guys.
Thursday night games are the best because you can tie that in with the Friday night game, but I will be returning home Friday. So yeah, seeing Jack Larson tonight. Looking forward to that. And you are in Cleveland area tonight, Trey. I'm sorry, I just called you Trey.
Kyle.
Trey, wow. We haven't had Trey on the
Mike's
recruiting show in a while. I just called you Trey.
Mike's losing his marbles over there, man. We really
I'm
got him
still triggered
flustered
from
earlier.
earlier.
Yeah, but I'm going to be at Shaker Heights High. Trey McNutt, they play at 6 o'clock tonight. This is a very elite football player. As you can see, the On3 industry ranking has him as a top 60 guy. Number 2 player in Ohio, number 4 athlete. Notre Dame's looking at him as a defensive back, I think primarily as a safety. And it's a really interesting recruitment because his dad went to Ohio State, but his dad is currently a coach for Tennessee State, an assistant coach on the staff. I thought Trey McNutt could make it to the Tennessee State Notre Dame game, but he chose to schedule a visit for the Notre Dame versus USC game next month instead. So it's like I feel like there's certain guys in the 2025 class that we just don't talk about enough. I think Trey McNutt is one of those guys. He's visited Notre Dame twice. His head coach at Shaker Heights is a Notre Dame fan. His dad or his mom loves campus. And he, believe it or not, even though he's from Shaker Heights, which is only about 2 hours from Columbus, his dad played there at Ohio State, he had never visited Ohio State before the springtime. So I think this is another recruitment that's shaping up to be a Notre Dame Ohio State battle. Penn State's on the cusp there. I think Michigan's an intriguing school. But yeah, I think Notre Dame's done a great job so far. And it's like sometimes there's these certain guys we forget about if they haven't been back on campus in a while or something like that. But Trey McNutt visited in June, and there was a lot of talk about him around that time. And I think that this is another guy we'll begin to talk about again once he gets up to campus next month. And hopefully I spark some more conversation by seeing him tonight.
Trey McNutt, number 56 overall player, listed as an athlete. So does he play receiver as well?
I'm assuming so. I think that's been the case. I glanced at his stats a couple weeks ago, and he had a couple catches. So we'll expect him to play some receiver tonight.
Yep, number 4 athlete. That athlete designation, number 2 player from Ohio. So Ohio State, Penn State, Notre Dame, a few of the schools after Trey McNutt. Well, we'll put a bow on the show right there. So I will. Are you going? And you're going to a game Friday night, right?
No, I have the night off. So
Nice. Okay.
finally,
So,
I've done a lot of traveling.
yeah,
A
Pat
lot
has
of
done a lot
traveling
more
this week.
traveling than I have, but I'm ramping it up more after a couple cancellations and whatnot, and birthday and all sorts of stuff. So, um, looking forward to Thursday night, and you can check out our reports on our blueandgold.com website. And then, of course, next Thursday we will cover these road travels and show you the film and all that good stuff. So let's see, Friday around 11 a.m. or 12 p.m. Eastern time. Really, it will depend on when my Charlotte hotel will allow me to upload the video. We'll have the preview of Notre Dame Central Michigan posted on our YouTube channel. Saturday after the game, myself and Tim Hyde will be live to break it down. And then Goolsby show, 7 p.m. Eastern time. It'll be an hour earlier because Singer is a big Dolphins fan and needs to watch the Dolphins beat the Patriots at 8:20 Eastern time on Sunday night. And yes, I now speak in the third person. So that's kind of the YouTube show lineup these next few days. So please check that out, as well as all of the coverage at blueandgold.com. You're not going to want to miss any of our written coverage, as well as the blueandgold.com message board. As soon as we hop off this, I'm going to go check that Q&A that we have going with our message board right now, see if anyone's asking me about Taco Bell or any Notre Dame recruiting stuff. So again, please do go to blueandgold.com and check out our website. Kyle, good stuff today. Folks watching or listening, really appreciate you for tuning in to the end of the show here. YouTube audience, please do hit that thumbs up on the video. And as always, folks, we will catch you next time.